Okay, fantastic. Here we go. We are live in Los Angeles and all over the world. Very, very cool. Masterminding with Neil Schwartz and our special guest today, Tim Rohan. Welcome, Tim. So glad you're here.
Thank you, Neil. Glad to be here.
Great job. Great job. You know, I had an opportunity. We've known each other, known of each other for being part of the Mike Ferry system for a long, long time, but I had never really seen you in action until I saw you live at the Mike Ferry retreat, where you had hosted one of the breakout sessions, and there were, I don't know, you presented to what, a couple thousand people throughout the day?
That's something like that.
Yeah, did a fantastic job. You kept everyone excited, enthusiastic, and I really look forward to having some of that today. So, Tim, give me a little bit of the Reader's Digest version of your story. How long in the business? What's your market area? Maybe something about how you started in this industry. Share a little bit of that with us to get started here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in real estate for 30 years. I've been following Mike for about 26 of those years. I got into real estate from the restaurant business. Back then in the 80s, early 90s, there was no internet, there was no MLS. There was only thing they had is little magazines at the restaurants for buyers to pick up to look at pictures of houses that were for sale. And so anytime I'd see anybody with one of those books, there was a guy that I knew that owned his own real estate company, and his wife and his brothers all worked for me. And so anytime I'd see someone with a book, I'd say, "Hey, are you looking to buy a house? You got to call my guy." And they would buy a house from him. And he'd say, "Too bad you're not licensed. I'd pay you a referral." Don't worry about it. You're my guy. Second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one. I finally asked, "How much is this referral fee?" And he said, "It could be 20% of the commission." Yeah, how much is that? Well, it could be $600. So I was making 19,000, working 80 hours a week. $600 was not a bad deal. So I said, "Well, how much is it to get your license?" It was $200. So off I went. So then when I decided to get into real estate, I naturally went to work for him. And after about a year, I realized I didn't know how to sell a house, but one thing was clear, he didn't either. And so I started doing the seminar junkie tour, and everybody was just buy this, just mail this, just run this ad, and you don't have to do anything. And then I came across Mike Ferry, and I said, "That's my guy." And I've been here ever since.
Fantastic. How old were you then?
How old was it then? Let's see. I was, I'm 60 now, so I was 30.
So 30 years old and started in the real estate business. Did you have
Correct.
a family at the time?
Yeah. Yep. Young
And
family.
So tell me about that. I mean, you were at the restaurant, I suspect. Did you own it, or you were a manager or a worker there?
Well, I ran regional chain, and then I ran a local place, and that was the next step, was to own it. And I didn't want to own it. I'd been doing it 15 years. And so I said, "Well, if I'm not going to take the next step, get out."
Right.
So I did. There was no money in it back then, Neil.
Got it.
Like there is today.
So, but it took a little bit of guts, you and your wife, and how many children at the time?
At the time, maybe kidless at the time.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
so
three
at the
though now.
time, at the time you're starting a career, you're leaving a job that pays something, you know, there was some pay. I mean, what was the conversation and the discussion at that time to go full-time real estate and hit it?
Well, just the potential, right? If I could put, back then, that was when the big chains started popping up, the Outbacks and the Lone Stars and all of those. So no matter how good you were always in fear of something else plopping up down the street that was potentially harm you financially. And so, I always like to bet on me. And so I thought that this was a job that the harder I worked, the more I got paid.
Excellent. So you jumped into it and started selling hundreds of properties a year, right?
Maybe not hundreds, no.
So tell us the migration and how the business came up for you.
Well, I would do 50 to 60 deals. I kind of leveled off there. I never really, honestly, I wasn't willing to pay the price. By that point, I had 3 kids. I coached all their teams. I was at all their games. And so I knew what to do, but Mike always says it's a 2-part question. What do you want and what price are you willing to pay to get it? And I just wasn't willing to pay the price.
But
So
60 transactions is a good amount of transactions. What was the sales price?
well, back then it was, mid 2s.
Okay. What part of the country?
I'm sorry. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right. Okay. So selling in Charlotte, North Carolina, there's some pretty nice areas back there too.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, my wife and I went there before the pandemic and just really enjoyed that area and saw some amazing properties.
Yeah, call me next time you're coming to town. I'm closing a 1.5 and a 3 million Monday.
All right.
A little bit better than the 200,000.
Yeah, much better. So talk to me about the properties in the beginning. I mean, did you sell houses to past client and sphere? Did you for sale by owners? Did you door knock? What was the progression?
Never big door knocking, and it was I didn't really have a database that I knew of, and so it was almost all people I did not know at that point.
Okay, so just listed, just sold?
Primarily expireds for sale by owners, just listed, just sold. Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, and you built the business that way. When did you actually get your first assistant?
I tacked on to that pretty easily, pretty early on. Mike said if you're looking around 40 deals, you need to buy in and get one. So I did at 40, around the 40 transaction mark.
Got it. Okay. What kind of deals are you doing now? How many?
Well, I'm fortunate to be able to coach for Mike, and so I do that as well. And so I'm coaching 32 and close 40.
You coached 32 agents and closed 40 transactions.
Correct.
Good for you. And that business still comes from expireds for sale by owners, or you've built up a past client and sphere base?
No, well, just like everybody else, there's not very much of those now. So primarily database.
Got it. And you built this how big's your database?
Right now it's about 378. It's not as big as it probably should be, but I don't put everybody in it necessarily.
So the 378 is getting you 40 deals?
Predominantly, yeah. I mean, I do get some from outside still, but the majority, close to 80% of my business has come from database over the past 18 months.
Got it. And what do you do? Regarding sending something to the database or calling them, or
well, it's just a periodic, a quarterly call, and then also just a quarterly mailing, or sometimes we'll have like the AAAs will send an additional mailing, it's called From Your Friends. It's just a little, trying to still got that restaurant business in me. It's a, restaurant or, King Tut exhibit or something like that. Just a little something. I send that out monthly to my AAAs.
Got it. Is Charlotte, sorry?
It's the phone calls is where the gold is.
The phone calls to your past client and sphere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How often do you do that?
Periodically. Most people with the AAAs are also people that they see socially. Right. And so, but they know you as that social person unless you make that business call. So I'd rather them know me as a successful real estate agent that happens to be their friend, as opposed to their friend that, oh yeah, I think he sells real estate.
And how do you set that up?
Well, again, when you can speak intelligently about the marketplace, and how it benefits them. When I add people to the database, the mistake I hear a lot of people make, a lot of agents make, is they say, would you like to be added to my quarterly newsletter? I'll put you in my database. Well, who wants that? Nobody. Right? So,
Right.
I just mentioned, what a lot of people ask me to do, Neil, and I'd be more than happy to do the same for you. Just touch base with you a couple times a year, let you know what's going on in the marketplace, and more importantly, how it affects the value of your home. Would you like me to do the same for you?
Good job.
And it's the value of the home is what gets them. That's the hook.
Right. Right.
That's how Zillow got to be Zillow. Not from people going on there looking at houses to buy, but when they first came out, everybody started logging in, looking at their own house, watching the Zestimate go up and down. So they always care about they don't care about what's going on in the market, but they always care if the value of their home changes.
Excellent. So you're just changing same concept of words, just a different order.
Correct. Right. And we can't, just give them a call and tell them what the market stats are, because they don't understand what that means. We think that they know when we tell them the market's on fire. We've only got a one month supply of homes for sale. Who do you know that needs to sell? They don't know what that means.
So how do you change it? What are the words you choose?
Well, I try and make it question based, right? And so we touched on this a little bit in that breakout session. Is the key is, what is the greatest human need?
Make me feel important.
Correct. Recognition, right? And so we do that by asking questions that we can pretty much predict what they're going to give us the answer to. And then we verbally high five them for giving us that answer, which makes them feel good about themselves. It has to be a conversation, not a dissertation. Same thing with the listing presentation. That's something we do with them, not something we do to them. And so as long as you're having that communication, and when they hang up the phone, they completely understand what's going on in the marketplace and they feel good about themselves, they're going to be more inclined to answer the phone the next time you call.
It's a great thought. It's a great thought. So let's talk about that a little bit in terms of the statistics and things. Where do you pull your information for the statistics, sales price, MLS, but is there any service that you particularly use, or you go after certain things to make sure you're giving that client that information?
The people get too in depth in that and try and do massive searches. My MLS puts out a weekly, how many came on the market, how many went pending, how that compares, and then we've got the monthly report. So I don't need to do anything more than that.
And that keeps them updated and happy.
Sure. And so I don't, people say, well, it varies from market to market, right? Or zip code to zip code. Yeah, it does. But that doesn't mean you have to search every zip code. You can just say, yeah, we're up 13.5%, Neil, and on our average sales price. Do you know that means your home has appreciated about $60,000 since this time last year? Did you know that? Right? You boil it down to what that means to them. Right. Or you could say we're up 13.5%, and where you are, Neil, it's probably closer to 20. Right? Or where you are, it might not quite be that high, but still overall good. So we don't need to know everything to give them a pretty good feel for what's going on and what it means to them.
And this is pretty much how you built your business over time, correct?
Well, I built the database, but I think the effectiveness of it was, probably as a result of my coaching, right? The one thing that you probably remember, Karen Bernardi, when she was a coach for a brief period of time, Mike asked her, what benefit did she get from being a coach? What did she learn from being a coach? And she said, it forced me to become the person that they thought I was. Right. And so
it's a brilliant thought.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, so I have to be as good as the best person I coach, if not better. And so how can I do that? I can get better at listening with the intent to understand and learn to ask better questions. So when I was at my first coaches training, you were probably even there, Neil. Mike said, I think in questions. And I was like, you think in questions, right? How do you get to do that? And he said, just by learning the question game, and just got very good at asking questions. And so on the next break, he said, pair off and do the question game. So I was paired off with a longtime coach. And he said, okay, well, you can go first. But before we start, give me a business card. So I gave him a business card. He turned it over, wrote something on the back of it, and then turned it over. He said, all right, go ahead. And so we started going back and forth. And I'm sure everybody's familiar with the question game, right? It usually starts out with some sort of dining or, where would you like to go? Where have you been? You've heard Mike do the example. And so we went back and forth. And then we evolved into farm to table. And then he asked me, God, those green and yellow tractors, what is the name of those? They have the hats, with the green and yellow tractors. What's the name of those? Was the question he asked. And what is the name of those? The green and yellow
what?
Tractor.
John Deere.
Oh,
John
tractor.
Deere.
Tractor. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hear.
So I said, oh, that's John Deere. And then I was asking a question about that. And he just sat back in his chair, smiled, and turned the card over. And what do you think it said on the back of the card?
John Deere.
John Deere. And so I said, that I'm going to make that my mission. So on your thing, it says, what is your superpower? My superpower is the ability to listen with the intent to understand and ask questions.
And you learn that because you know the scripts, you know what to say and how to say it at a very high level. So you get to sit and listen.
Correct.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. I was actually explaining that to some agents today on a coaching call, that's how I learned to ask questions, was exactly from memorizing the scripts. Because I don't know, what would you say there's in all the scripts, 300 questions, 400 questions?
If that many.
So certainly a couple hundred, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if what we're teaching, what we're explaining, what you're talking about is if they will at least memorize the basic questions in the scripts, they now have 30, 40, 50 questions memorized.
Correct.
Yeah. Pretty simple way to learn how to ask questions, isn't it?
Yeah. The scripts are designed to give us all the information that we need to figure out how we can solve their problem.
Got it.
Right. But a lot of times when we're focused on, okay, I'm on number 5. Okay, I always have trouble with number 6. We're not listening to their answer to number 5. And it's those answers that require maybe some additional questions. That's where the gold is.
Right. That's exactly it. Absolutely. So you're coaching 30-something agents right now from low production to higher production, I would suspect. What are you having them work on? Let's say there's a new agent or newer agent.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have them start on? What's the 3, 4, 5 things? Okay, let's do this. We're going to get you ramped up. What do you give them?
Okay, so what does Mike say when someone's new? You've only got 3 P's to do, right? Prospect, practice, prospect, and preview. But they can't practice on their own. They have to practice with someone else. And so you have morning script practice, afternoon listing presentation practice. You have to be doing the 2 at the same time.
Got it.
And then get out and preview property. Preferably, how long is the average listing agreement in your marketplace? 90 days. Well, preview houses that have been on the market 80 days. And leave your card and say, great house, thanks for letting me preview.
Got it.
Right. So, but we don't have that luxury right now, but in a normal market, that's one of the things. But preview everything you can. So, but then again, as I want them to learn the scripts, because that keeps us on track, sometimes they get too hung up on it. And I said, just think about it conceptually, right? What are we trying to figure out? this person has a problem. Can I identify what it is? Once I do, then I know how to solve it. And so what I was telling people is we don't have an inventory shortage, we've got a problem solving shortage. And so we have to identify what their problem is and how to solve it. But one of the things that I was telling someone today is when we're prospecting, even early on, we have to make two assumptions with every person that says hello. Number one is they need our help unless they can convince us otherwise. And then the second thing is that this will probably be the only chance I ever have to speak to them. Because what happens is someone's really nice, they're answering the questions, they appear to be a lead. Oh yeah, sounds good. Let me check with the wife, call me back. And then they never hear from them again. But they didn't extract all the information that they needed to on the first call, right? The when, the where, the why, right? Or where, when, why. Where are they going? When do they need to be there? And why are they going there? And if you know those three things, then it's much easier to do lead follow-up. And even if you get a voicemail when everyone else is calling back, hey, I just wanted to call and see if you're ready to get your house on the market. And now here comes Neil Schwartz. Hey, I spoke with you Tuesday. You asked me to call you today at 4. It's 4 o'clock. I just wanted to see if you're ready to get to Long Beach before your grandson's born next month. Who's getting the call back?
Absolutely.
We under promised and over delivered. They told us to call at 4. We made reference that it's 4 o'clock. We fulfilled the promise we've made to them already. So we're making a deposit in the credibility bank, and then we're pressing the motivation button, even though it's on voicemail. And so they're thinking this guy either took good notes or he's really understands what I'm trying to accomplish, and I'm fine with either one.
So, Tim, let me ask you a question. You've been doing this a long time. You hit on a subject that I hammer on and teach all the time. How important is doing what you say you're going to do with regard to the client? I mean, in terms of credibility, in terms of them continuing to do business with you, how important is that in the decision-making process of the client that you think?
Well, I mean, I think it's critical. I mean, because we're essentially you're talking about customer service, correct?
Well, I'm not so sure that the agent population in general, not the agents on this call, but the agent population in general considers calling people back at the time they say they're going to call back as customer service.
Mm-hmm.
So describe that a little bit. What's your thoughts there?
Well, I mean, I think customer service can be boiled down to two things. One is communication, right? More is better. If you say you're going to call them, and make sure if they call you, you probably made a mistake, right? And then setting realistic expectations. Every time even if you've done 5 deals with them, does the transaction change from year to year? Yes, right? We assume that they remember or they know. When you set expectations, this is what's getting ready to happen, and that's exactly what happens. Another deposit in the credibility bank. And if you keep making those, when push comes to shove, Neil, I told you I was not going to take a penny less than 500. That's 480. You can make a withdrawal from that credibility bank. Neil, we've been working together for a couple of months now. Is that correct?
Right.
Right. And so we've talked about how the market was going to respond to our price. And based on what we talked about, this is the first offer that we've received, is it not?
That is correct.
Right. And so far since our relationship, have you felt that I've had your best interest at heart?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Good. I appreciate that, because that is my utmost goal, right? What's best for Neil. And so I have to tell you, with the amount of time that we've been on the market and this being the only offer, and this is the most that they're willing to pay, are you willing to wait another 3 or 4 months for another offer? Or should we just probably go ahead and accept this offer and get to Phoenix so we can be there when your grandson's born next month? Which
I
do you
really
think we
wanted to
should?
get this price, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I understand completely. Neil, I think that's probably the best thing for you to do. Right. So my recommendation is we just take this. It's a good, strong buyer. Let's just move along and let's get to Phoenix. But that grandson's growing by the day. What do you say?
I love it. I love it.
Right.
I love it.
So you can lead them a little bit because you've got the credibility to do so.
Right.
If you haven't talked to them in 3 weeks, they're not, you're not gonna have any leverage there.
If you didn't talk to them, you could talk with them every week, but if you told them you were going to call them at 4 o'clock and you always call them at 4:30, it's not a big deal. You don't think it's a big deal. They don't think it's a big deal, but every time you call them at 4:30, they have a mental checklist that they keep checking off that you're screwing up. Okay. Yeah. And I got to tell you, some real estate agents don't get that. Mm-hmm. So Tim, talk more about some of the things that you're doing right now with a couple of the agents you're coaching. How do you get them to get that point?
Well, a lot of people are get that point.
Or no, go ahead with your thought.
Well, one thing that people have gotten away from, another thing is, when does a price reduction campaign start?
When you take the listing.
When you take the listing, right. After you've taken the listing. And right. So you've seen this, Neil, right? When the market shifts and all of a sudden it's back towards a buyer's market, they're like, oh yeah, man, I put that price reduction form in the listing package. Hey, when I get that listing, I press and try and get a reduction now. I let them know, hey, if we get a lot of people through and no offers, we're going to have to reduce it 5%. And hey, if we don't get any offers or just a few showings, you're going to have to reduce it by 10%. And they do that after they just signed a listing agreement. What does the seller think while that person's still in their home?
That all they're trying to do is push the deal down and get the commission.
Yeah,
push the price down.
Made a mistake, yeah. Right? And so I always ask the agents this, especially ones that have been around for a while. Have you ever dislocated your shoulder on the way back to the office because you just took the best listing that anybody at Century 21 Masters has ever taken and you had a hard time selling it? And the answer is always yes, right? Have you ever kicked yourself in the rear end on the way back to the car saying, why did I list that dog? It will never sell, and it sells in 2 days? The answer again is always yes. So right. The bottom line is, as good as we know, as good as we are, and as much as we know, sometimes we just don't know. So why not tell the seller all the possibilities in terms of pricing? So, Neil, I appreciate the vote of confidence, and I think we've done the right thing here in terms of price tonight. However, as I mentioned, the market will let us know, and the market's going to let us know one of 4 things. Can I explain, Neil?
Please do.
Well, the first thing the market can let us know is that we've underpriced the property, and how the market lets us know that is we'll get a bunch of showings. They'll beat the door down. We'll get multiple offers. I'll have the opportunity to bid the price up, and it will sell for fair market value. Any questions about option number 1?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, terrific. Option number 2 is we nailed the price here tonight, Neil. And how the market lets us know that is first 10 showings, first 30 days, we'll get an offer. It may not be full price, but it's pretty close. We'll accept it. It's a good, strong buyer, and it will close, and we'll sell it for fair market value. Any questions about option number 2?
No, kind of got that one.
Okay, terrific. Option number 3 is we were slightly off in terms of our price here tonight. And how the market lets us know that is we'll have a bunch of showings, and yet nobody will make any offers. That's the market telling us we've missed the mark normally by about 5%. Any questions about option number 3?
No, got that one.
No? Okay, terrific. And option number 4 is we made a mistake in terms of price here tonight, or the market has changed. There's been a shift in the market. Could be one or the other. And how the market lets us know that is we have very few showings or no showings at all. And that's the market telling us that we're off at least 10%. Any questions about option number 4?
Nope, got that one.
Okay, terrific. Well, all I know, Neil, is this plan of action that I'm going to employ starting tonight gets a home sold every single time when it's priced correctly. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
So let's make a deal. Let's not wait too long to respond to what the market's telling us, okay?
Okay.
Great. Talk to you next week.
All right. Good stuff. Excellent
How does the
stuff.
seller feel now, though, right?
No, they feel good about you and they feel good about their decision to hire you.
And who's responsible for the price?
The seller.
Well, the market,
Well,
right?
right. The market.
So now it's price reduction time, right? Because what's a normal price reduction conversation? Well, it looks like, you know, we've got some feedback. They love the house, great feedback, but no offers. I think we probably should reduce the price. I don't know how much. Well, probably at least get below the next benchmark, you know, maybe another 20,000. Oh, you think that's enough? That should do it, right? So now we own the price completely. But when we explain the 4 options, we say, Neil, hey, we've been on the market for 3 weeks now. Remember that conversation we had when we listed the property about how the market was going to respond to our price? Do you remember that? Yes? Okay, terrific. And so based on what's happened so far, what do you think the market's telling us about our price?
Maybe we're too high.
Exactly. Now, how much do you think we're too high? Option number 3 or option number 4?
Well, I don't want to reduce it 10%. No way.
Sure. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But can I tell you the beauty of the market? It's kind of like we hit reset. And if 10% is too much, we open up all 4 options again. Neil, it's not uncommon when a seller reduces the price that we'll get multiple offers, and then I'll bid the price back up. Sometimes we get as much as we were at before. Would you like to have that option?
I'd love that.
Yeah, so you see, it's impossible to underprice a property, but it is possible, as we've already seen, to overprice a property. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Okay, great. So are you prepared to reduce the price by 10% tonight?
Ugh.
And can I tell you what I'm going to do once we do, Neil?
What's that?
I'm going to get back that plan of action that we went through when we listed the property, and I'm going to start right at the top at number 1. And I'm going to go at this thing like I just listed it. And I'm going to do every single thing that I did last time, because I know that this works every time when a home is priced correctly. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's the other mistake that they make. They ask for a price reduction, and what does the seller think? Why am I doing all the giving? What are you going to do?
Right.
So let them know, hey, once you do this, this is what I'm going to do. We're in this together.
No, smart move, Tim. Smart move. Good information. This has been great. So, Tim, so the group, we could play Stump the Coach or Stump. Any objection handlers you guys want to ask Tim about?
One that you've actually had?
One you've actually had, yeah. Anyone?
Per se is Tess. Hi, Tim. Thank you. I love
Hello.
everything that you said today. Love it. The question of the sellers right now is that the market is still good, and they really would like, because they're hearing it from their friends, that the market is still good. There's no such thing as, lowballing the pricing right now. So how do we educate our clients right now that we're seeing that there might be a shift, where there's actually a shift, that we're coming in with higher inventory? I mean, what would be the very best interpretation that we could tell the seller that we are no longer on that 2-year or 1.5-year market where we have a shortage of inventory? We're coming in higher in inventory.
Sure. Yeah, well, I mean, we can, but again, if we're telling them, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So we have to ask them questions that have them draw that same conclusion. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay, so do you want to role play that?
absolutely.
Okay,
Tim, I don't think I really want to list it for a low price like what you're saying. I still think that the market is still great. There's a shortage of inventory still.
Sure. You know what? You're absolutely right, Tess. And there's not many homes for sale, is there?
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. And so can I tell you what I'm noticing in the marketplace?
Okay.
Sure. Well, days on the market is starting to stretch out. Did you know that the average for the past month, or actually for the past 18 months, has been about 12 days on the market? Did you know that?
Yeah, I kind of heard about it. Yes.
Okay. And so over the past 2 months, it's ballooned up to 53 days on the market. So can you
Wow.
see how it's taking a lot longer to sell homes?
Well, I can see that based on what you're saying.
Sure, absolutely. And so if it's taking longer to sell homes, do you think it's going to stand to reason that more homes are going to start coming on the market and start accumulating on the market?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And so that means that buyers have been, in a frenzy for a home. Now all of a sudden they're going to have choices, aren't they?
that's true. Hmm.
Yeah. And if a buyer has choices, are they going to be inclined to pay those crazy, insane over asking prices that they were maybe even 6 months ago?
No.
No, probably not. Right. And so can you see it's only a matter of time before they start pitting seller against seller and start driving prices potentially down a little bit? You don't want that, do you?
No.
No. Okay, terrific. So let's do the right thing and let's go ahead and list it. And you know what? If it is too low, the market will let us know and we'll get multiple offers and then I'll bid it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Do you feel I can sell your home, Tess?
I think so.
All right. Put me to work. Sign the contract.
All right. Good job.
So, but do you understand? Did you actually feel, Tess, honestly? Because when I role play, when I'm the seller, I don't look at the script. What are they telling me? What do I feel? How do I, what am I getting what they're trying to tell me? So be honest, right? Did you have an understanding of, you know what? I might not want to wait much longer. I might want to
Right.
go ahead and get out there now.
Yes. And the good part about that too is that you were very engaged by asking question and let me respond instead of telling.
Mm-hmm. The key is when you get them to say out loud what you just wanted to tell them. That's how you know you're really doing it right.
Got it.
Great
Thank you.
stuff. Excellent. Good example. Thanks, Tess. Any other questions, script questions that we can ask Tim? Anyone else? Anyone? Speak up, please. I
I
can't.
guess we're just running into a lot of people cutting commissions and all.
Patricia, what's the question? Ask it again.
Well, I guess the question is like, how does he deal with when he gets, but this 5 agents are gonna do it for 1% or 1.5%.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Tim, that ever happened to you?
Does that happen to me?
Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I love that question. Right? So do you want to role play that, Patricia?
Patty, role play it with him.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Tim, we definitely believe that you can do it, but I mean, why would I list with you? I have an agent, like 3 agents that came by yesterday that said that they'll do it, the whole thing for 3%.
Sure. You know what? Hey, I can appreciate that. And that sounds great on the surface, doesn't it? Tim's charging me 6. They're charging me 3. I make more money, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think the same thing. But the flaw with that theory is that we produce the same results. Can I explain?
Sure.
Okay, so if the average agent in MLS gives away 7% of the seller's equity, did you know that?
No, what do you mean?
Yeah, well, the list price to sales price in MLS is 93%.
Okay.
Okay, so the average agent gives away 7% of the seller's equity. My sellers get 98.6 of their asking price. Right? So how much would that additional 5.3% put in your market, Patty? Let's see, on $1 million house, that would be $54,000.
Wow.
Right? So now let me ask you this, an agent that comes in here and is willing to give most of their money away, do you think they bring that average up or do they're the ones dragging that average down?
Probably dragging it down.
Yeah. So how much are you potentially losing by hiring with one of those desperate agents? You want to put the most amount of money in your pocket, Patty?
Yes,
And you already said you feel I can sell your home, correct?
correct.
Let's do the right thing. Sign the contract.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
All right, good
I
stuff.
didn't tell you, I asked you, right?
Uh-huh.
You figured that out for yourself. I'm losing money.
Right. That's
So
really good.
Tim, let me ask you a question. How long does it take an agent to, like, we'll pull this off, but when I say pull it off, we'll pull the scripting off of it. But how long does it take an agent to learn to be able to do something like that?
Well, it depends on how much time they spend on it and if they stick with it consistently, right? Skills are a diminishing asset. And so you do it for 3 days, you don't do it for 7. Your first day back, you're going to get slapped around a little bit. Even though you know the scripts, skills are a diminishing asset, and that is a skill. So unless you're doing it every day, you're not. So I role play with clients all the time. Tell me about what's going on. And I role play with leads. They bring me their leads. Let's convert them. Right. So, and I just do that through questions. So I learned, I read some books on it. I practiced it on my role play, and I just really made that a primary focus for me. But you can learn it relatively quickly once you know the scripts and you're truly listening with the intent to understand. They'll tell you what you need to know, as long as you're asking and listening is the key. It's not even a question. It's not even a question asking thing. It's a listening thing is the real key.
So Tim, let me ask you a question here. If, let's take a commission handling objection. If you go on a listing appointment every week, let's call it 50 appointments a year, right?
Okay.
That objection handler you just gave, if I or any one of the agents were to really learn it, how many hours do you think they would have to dedicate to do that? I mean, they would own it.
As long as it took for them to believe it.
Give me a number.
If they got that regularly on 52 times, I don't know, I would say 2 months.
So
But I think
60 30-minute sessions they would own it.
I would say so. But you can practice it all day long, but if you still don't believe it, you're not going to be able to present it with conviction.
Okay.
And if you don't, did Tess or Patty think I had any doubt about what I was asking and what I was saying?
No.
Right? People want to be led. And when you're speaking with conviction and displaying that you have their best interests at heart and they're participating in it, you can't ask anybody to do something unless you can provide a benefit to them in doing it.
I completely agree. Tess,
and I clearly
Patty,
displayed to Tess and Patty a benefit in them to doing what I was asking them to do.
right. Patty.
Yeah.
How long would it take you to be as good as Tim was just now with you? More or less. Would a month or two, half an hour a day, an hour a day?
I mean, if I did an hour a day, I mean, wouldn't it just take like a week? I mean, if I had the words, you just memorize it and practice it and repeat it. I mean.
So, but maybe the belief might take a little bit longer. So what if it took 2 weeks, an hour a day is 14 hours? Does that feel okay?
Sure.
Tess, you there?
Yes.
Same thing. How long would it take you to own that same one? Would it take you a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, an hour and a half? What do you think?
I think for me, if I practice it an hour a day and truly believe on it and really believe in it, I'd take probably, to be good at it and be an expert on it,
Beyond good.
beyond about a month.
Okay. So an hour a day for 30 days.
Yes.
Okay. Patty, would you agree that if you did that, you would know you would own it?
I would, but you know what? I want to point out that I have not heard that put that way.
Okay.
Oh, okay. We can't talk.
We're going to pull it off. You can learn it and do it and own it. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Money.
Okay. Now, if you guys go on a listing appointment a week, after you own it for the 30 days, could you get some of those listings at 6% instead of 3 or 4%?
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. How many, Patty, how many would you get at a higher commission?
At least half. But
So instead of 50, you get 25
yeah.
at a higher commission. Tess, what do you think?
I'd take it at 70%.
You'd take those at 7%.
Yeah. When you believe that you can do it, you will do it.
So my question is, how many of those would you get at the higher commission?
If you get an appointment, 2 appointments a week,
No, 1 appointment a week, 1 listing appointment a week, okay? But you got the difference is 3% versus 6%. How many could you convert?
and percentage wise,
Yeah,
at least I'd say 50%.
okay,
Yeah.
so you also believe you would convert 25 of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so if it's a $500,000 property and you get an additional 3%, you get $15,000 per property. $15,000 per property times, stay with me, guys, 15,000 times 25 is $375,000. Okay, let's say Tim doesn't know what he's talking about. And you can't get that, you can only get half. So 375 divided by 2 is $187,000. And you invested, what did we say, 30 hours into that, right?
Mhm.
So what's that, $5,000 an hour?
Wow.
That's my point. It's a very small investment that Tim is making us aware of, that if you did take the 30 hours and did it, you would end up with, God knows, $4,000 or $5,000 an hour that you would get paid for the education. And Tim, that's the problem where most agents think that role play is not valuable.
Right. Well, they don't have to be great at it. They just have to say it. Right.
Yeah.
They'll get more and more. But I coached a lady she was transferred into my schedule. She's in Southern Florida. She's from Czechoslovakia. She barely spoke English, but she was a driver and she was coachable. She recorded the calls and sent me a call every week. I said, next time say this. And then it was like a female Czechoslovakian me that next week on the next call, because she'd say exactly what I told her to say. And what do you think happened?
She got
She started
the deal.
taking listings. She started getting listings, and her average sales price went from 80,000 to 400,000 in 18 months, just by saying it. So you don't have to worry about perfecting it. Just start using it, and the more you use it, and you say, "Hey, damn, it worked!" Right? That builds the belief even more.
Yeah.
I love it.
Question, Tim, when you're doing the memorizing the script, do you actually just pick up those bullet words, or do you really memorize word for word? Or maybe explaining it in the right sense?
Well, I mean, when I did that presentation at the breakout, everybody said, "Oh, can I have your scripts?" I said, "They're not scripts." Right? I don't have those written out. I didn't role play those. someone brought an objection to me, I listened to it, and based on that, I started asking them questions. Those just were organic. Mike Ferry has the scripts, right? I just have additional questions to people's objections or concerns that they have. Does that make sense, Neil?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Fantastic. All right, everybody, unmute yourselves, please. Let's give Tim a real huge round of applause. Woo! All right.
Thank you, 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 thank you.
That's what my kids used to do, a round of
Thanks,
applause.
Tim.
Thank you.
Tim.
That
Great.
was great. That
Thank you.
All right,
was
if anybody has a referral for beautiful, it's a mass exodus from California to Charlotte, so send them my way. We'll be glad to take care of them.
So Tim, we're gonna post it here in just a moment. It'll be in the chat box if it already isn't in there. We'll take care of that and get that in there. What we do right now is we'll go take a few minutes. You're welcome to stay around, or if you have a hard stop, we certainly understand that. But we're gonna go ahead and ask questions on what we learned from this session. I gotta tell you something, I've got 4 pages of notes myself, and we're going to download, or I guess retype, or whatever we have to do to
Well, Neil, you've got my contact information. Have anybody reach out to me if they have any questions. I'll be glad to help any way I can.
appreciate it, Tim. Thank you
All right.
very much.
Thank you.
All right,
All right,
thanks,
good
guys.
job. Thank you, Tim. Woo-hoo.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about what did we learn today? What did we learn? What didn't we learn?
I have
Go
a
ahead,
question.
Armin.
He's a great listener.
For sure.
Yeah.
I really like the fact, like, you know, how you listen, but it comes organic, comes natural. I would like to learn how to do that more. Like, you know, we all learn the script, we all know how to say the objection handling, but if you really listen, and I like the way how he has that, he already has an answer, but there's that path of question that he took, that, you know, the seller, the buyer, down that path that he wants them to see, that, you know, the answer he got in his head. But he, instead of like just, you know, giving that objection, you know, word by word, but you go down that path and you ask that question. I mean, that was like incredible. I love that.
So Chris, it looks easy and natural, and it's hours and hours of role
Practice.
play. It's, you know, we talk about the role play. I mean, we set up every morning we're doing an hour's worth of role play. Sometimes we roll our eyes back and say, well, you know, God, do I need this again? And the truth is you do. And that's an accumulation of hundreds and hundreds of hours of role play. The information's in the head, and then you have a conversation with the client where you're not waiting for them to say what they're going to say so you can talk. You
Right.
just sit back. Same setup. I just want to sit back and listen to what the client's saying. You know,
Right.
when any agent brings me a question about a transaction, I immediately go to what is the motivation? Talk to me about the motivation. Let me get that. Hold on a second. Okay. All right. Got it. So
I understand.
that's how that works, Chris. Chris, you're on the path right now, my friend.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, what else did we learn today?
I have a kind of really, I don't know if I should ask this question, but in reference to what Patty was saying about the commission on our script that we are using, which for me, it really works. I take a 3% commission, and then you just have to decide how much you want to pay the buying agent. How would that relate now based on what he was talking about, Neil? I want to.
Well, you just have to modify. I got to look at the whole thing. We just have to modify it. What we're using and doing right now is going to switch in a short period of time, because the properties aren't going to sell at the same rate that they're selling now. Okay. And when that day comes, I promise I will tell you to shift. Okay. I promise.
Got it.
But right now, keep doing what you're doing, and we'll prepare for the reshift. But if you'll notice, if you'll notice in any of our role play, we're not using the standard, I want to cut the commissions, no, any other questions. We don't use that, okay? I've never practiced it probably since, maybe since COVID started. I don't think we've used it at all because it's not apropos. It might be, it might come back in, but right now, what you're using, what we've been trained to use is working at a really high level. So
All right.
stay focused with that, all right? Good, what else do we learn today? Donna, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I really liked the part about, he said, make it a conversation with the sellers, not a dissertation. And don't use our realtor lingo that we use around the office and with agents, because they don't understand what we're talking about. And I really, I've been focusing on listening more and trying not to use phrases that we use in real estate.
Good, great job, Donna. Good seeing you. All right, who else? What else did we learn today? Raise a hand or speak out, please.
I like the part where he said they need our help and this may be our only chance.
The only chance to talk to them.
Yeah, that might be our only chance to be in front of them.
Exactly
you know?
what you and I were talking about this morning, wasn't it, Eric?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Good job. Excellent. Okay, what else did we learn today?
I know what else I liked was the 4 options, how he set up the way the market works. That was like so smooth and it was so smart.
Absolutely. Patty, you're inches away from being able to do stuff like that.
Oh, really? I love it. Thank you.
All right. What else do we learn today? What else? What else did we learn? Anyone? No one? All right. So did his stuff get posted? No. Let's see. Cindy, can you do me a favor? Can you check with Miriam to get the information so we can post his information up in there in the.
I will.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, I don't have anything else. I thought that was fantastic. We'll get this posted in the next couple days so you can re-listen to it. And we'll also, as an organization, pull off some of the scripts that he used and get them into the role play. Go ahead, Armin.
Hey, Neil, if anybody has any questions regarding Tim, he was my coach and he's currently Tim Gallego's coach. And he also coached Cece before she left.
Got it. Cool. All right. Thank you. No, he's a good guy. He's a really good